How much does NIL impact college sports? Chris Graham here on the video. We're going to talk about some NIL stuff. I wrote a report a few days ago. It was based on something coming from a company. Let's see, what's the Open Doors? Open Doors. I don't know how you pronounce that. Uh, OPENDORSE. Kind of a cute name. It's a group that does NIL work with thousands of college student athletes, and this company does an annual report on the state of NIL. NIL is so fascinating because one, we don't know a lot about it. We don't know, there's no requirement from the NCAA. Hint, hint. Let's work on that to get schools to publicly reveal what they do in that sphere, what their student athletes do, what they do as from a collective standpoint, and so as a result, it's very much a wild, wild west, right? In terms of what we know, what we don't know. It's kind of like in the old days. When I say the old days, like 5 years ago, when your favorite school, whatever that may be, lost a student athlete recruit to another school, you would just say, well, it's because they paid them more. Um, Now you can say it and you kind of, well, you think you kind of know it, right? But we just don't know. We just don't know. So, um, what Open Doors did was compile this report. Now, I will caution to say, I don't, I didn't get a sense of the methodology that they used. But the fact that this group's been doing this for a few years now makes me think that there's some. I mean, even with estimates, there's something to their numbers, and plus, we just don't have any other numbers. So let's just go with what they have to say, for the sake of argument. And of course, I know that a lot of my audience obviously follows University of Virginia athletics closely. That's what I'm known for reporting on. So there is a aspect of me, focusing on UVA with this. So if you're a fan of another school's teams, I mean, you can maybe glean something from this. Open Doors reported that the NIL market has grown from 917 million in terms of total valuation in 2021, 2022 to a projected $1.67 billion in this current year. So over a 3-year period, it's almost doubled. $1.67 billion total market. That is what it is. I don't know if it's big. I don't know if it's little. I don't know. Um, NIL collectives account for about 80% of that. In fact, precise number given by Open Doors was 81.6%. So when I did the math on that, that's $1.36 billion comes from collectives. Now, the University of Virginia Athletics a program works with a collective called CAV Futures. And so CAV Futures would be responsible. I mean, if you want to believe, this report, which I don't see any reason not to, for about 80% of what is done with UVA in terms of NIL. Now, in terms of that $1.36 billion in aggregate collective spending, I'm going down some rabbit holes here, right? 72.2% of that goes out to football. Not surprising. That's the bulk of college athletics revenues. And so that 72.2%, which is just under $1 billion, goes to football programs, and 21.2% goes to men's basketball. And that doesn't leave a lot for the rest. What would that be? 93.4, so about 6% to the rest. That's just not leaving a lot for everything else. I liked one thing that came out of this report, an idea of what the top student athletes get in NIL money per year. This is where the rubber hits the road, I would say. The top 25 quarterbacks, according to the Open Doors report, receive a median NIL compensation package of $648,400. So a median package, that's obviously, so somewhere between 12 and 13 gets that. Some guys get lower. Obviously, some guys get a lot more. 648,000, that's quantifying it though. I mean, it's not bad money to be in minor league quarterback. Let's just put it where it is, right? The top 25 football players at other positions get a median 294,134. Um, you know, you think from a football roster construction standpoint, and then what money they earn at the NFL level, quarterback is the most important position, and then the positions that deal with quarterback come after that. Your left, if your quarterback's right-handed, most of them are. It's your left tackle, the guy who protects the blind side, would be up there with the defensive ends who have to attack the quarterback. Then receivers and then the cornerbacks who have to cover the receivers. And then you kind of, that's the pecking order. And then from there, the guys involved in the rest of your guards on the line, they're more running game guys. They would get paid less than the guys on the ends of the line. Similar on the defensive side, linebackers and running backs. Game doesn't really go with the ground that much anymore. So that's where your money would go. In the grand scheme of things, it's not as much as I actually kind of thought. Basketball players actually get more. And I think a reason for this is probably obvious. There's 85 scholarship guys in football. And, not all those guys obviously are going to get not all, even at Alabama, they're not all going to get money, or Texas A&M, they're not all going to get money. But the ones who do, the guys not on the two deep are going to get less. And then, again, from the roster construction standpoint, you're going to see, variations there. There's only 13 scholarship basketball players. And so the idea that the top 25 men's basketball players, the median is 349, 492. That's higher than the median for the overall football players, less than quarterbacks. But that's still some change there. Though, in a really significant note here, I thought top 25 women's basketball players get more in NIL, 88,975 according to this report, than the median salary for players in the WNBA, 78,000. Now, this is where you have to keep in mind, because you'd say, then why, for example, why did Caitlin Clark, why did Angel Reese, Caitlin Clark had a year of eligibility left. I don't know off the top of my head. I shouldn't have said Angel Reese's name, but she may have still had a year of eligibility left at the NCAA level. We know Caitlin Clark did. So why would she go to the WNBA and make less? Well, I mean, because NIL isn't a salary. NIL is endorsement money. And so she's getting a salary, and then she signed that huge deal with Nike, for example, $28 million 8-year deal, which is probably going to have to be renegotiated by her agents pretty soon, given how much cachet she's bringing to that league, and thus, through herself. But if you're not Caitlin Clark or Angel Reese, you're not going to make a lot of money, necessarily in endorsements and when you're in the WNBA. So maybe that 88,975 is going to be more. Or that might be factoring into some decisions to stay in college next year. College baseball players, I love college baseball. I spend a lot of time in the spring thinking about college baseball. They don't get much. It's not a revenue sport. I've written about that from a standpoint of diving into numbers at UVA athletics. It's not a revenue sport at the college level, and that's factoring in NIL. The top 25 median is $47,000 a year. So when if you are a hardcore college baseball fan, and you say, wow, our school lost this guy to this school, they probably are paying him a boatload of money in NIL. They're probably not. It's just not, that can't be the factor. And then here's a magic number I thought, because again, I've focused on one school, but whatever school you root for, the median Power 4 collective annual budget is $13.9 million. So, whatever number you hear out there, about what is being spent on a quarterback, or, whatever you think you hear, just keep in mind that what I like to say is what you hear is probably not true. And I think that when you consider that this group putting this report together says that, and these are pretty specific numbers, they're not just, I can't imagine they're just pulling these out of the air. There's a lot of research goes into this. 13.9 million is the median. Now that means still, Texas A&M, you hear that they're throwing $25 million out at their budget, and, XYZ schools putting out this much. But the median Power Four, there's, with the realignment, roughly 65, 70 schools in the Power Four. Um, somewhere around 35 is 13.9 million. Obviously some schools in that, maybe the Vanderbilts and Dukes and Northwestern spend way below that, and the A&Ms and Texases and, whatever, spend a lot more than that. But that's your working target for what your school is probably probably spending. So I will say I was a little frustrated, specifically dealing with UVA athletics. Can't find really anything at all. Cav Futures is a registered nonprofit in the state of Virginia, but could not find for the life of me. Looked everywhere for their Form 990 from the IRS. You can look it up. That's what the old saying is. You can look it up, but the Form 990s in general, not just with Cab Futures. I don't want to cast aspersions here. Not just for NIL collectives and everything else. In general, finding Form 990s online is even going through the IRS, going through the State Corporation Commission of Virginia, in my case, not easy to do. It's supposed to be easy, but it's not. So anyway, couldn't find anything out specific to UVA athletics. And now UVA Athletic, excuse me, the University of Virginia itself is starting to play some really fun games with me on FOIA requests. So I'll have more on that later. In any case, this hopefully has been somewhat educational. If you have any questions for me, any future ideas for videos, podcasts, anything else, feel free to drop me a line at um, Chris at AugustaFreePress.com. Of course, on the YouTube video, you can comment as well. I get all the notifications there. But I'd love to hear from you. Thanks. Have a great day, everybody.